Okay. So are the numbers rolling now? Okay. And can you see the levels moving? Okay, good. All right, let's get comfy.
Okay, dare to think, and we're back. June 2nd, 2021. Hello, JB. How are you?
Matt, I'm fantastic.
Yeah, we just had dinner, so I think we're good. I'm pretty full.
Matthew, I just want to say one thing to our listening audience. So, Matt, why has it been so long since our last podcast? It has and it hasn't. We're now in June here. It's the summertime almost. We're almost in the solstice.
We took a big break because we were editing, and now we're done editing.
And yet we're still editing.
I guess we'll always be editing. It's endless. But yeah, now we're picking up recording again, and we're trying to make that more the focus, opposed to editing every night.
Well, so it's been a journey, right, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. And, like we talked about and discussed in the last podcast, you went away across the country and visited some family, and I had some technical issues. So there's been some various issues, but now we're kind of wrapping it up, and I think we've got everything figured out. So we're recording again.
Yeah, we're learning as we go. We're
Yeah.
gonna get some new equipment. We're gonna graduate from one type of technology to another, and hopefully that'll help us. But Matt, as you've been listening back on our previous recordings and our previous postings, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I think it sounds good. It's taken me a while to get used to listening to myself. It's kind of like seeing yourself on a video or something, or hearing yourself on a recording. You're just not used to it.
That's
That's
common,
taken
actually.
Yeah, that's taken some while to get a while to get used to. But other than that, yeah, everything's good, and I feel like the more that I do this, the more comfortable I will be, and hopefully my main point is that I would like to be more prepared as far as notes and setting my sources and whatnot
And you're
when I
100%
share.
prepared today, right?
No, I'm not prepared at all. Yeah, but
But you know what? We're just gonna have fun. Here at Dare to Think, we want to have fun. We want to ask good questions, and we want to be as honest as possible. And we want to be comfortable. We want to just hang out, and because Matt, me and you, we got a chemistry. We got like a peanut butter and jelly kind of thing going on. Maybe peanut butter and chocolate. Maybe mustard and ketchup. I'm not quite sure.
Nutella and peanut butter.
Okay, that works.
Oh, it's a little too rich. Maybe that's too rich.
No, that's good. Maybe sometimes it's I don't know. But we do have a good chemistry, and we try to just look at, what's going on around us and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see and look at things simplistically
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of break things down and understand how things work. And that's it. And I could apply that to anything in my life. Anything. I just want to break it down and look at it very simplistically. And that's what I want to do on this podcast. I just want to have a conversation, and I want to have a conversation about it. These days, it's really hard to have a conversation, especially with social media. Everyone is opinionated, which is probably nothing new, but I feel like it's different these days because people are behind a computer screen and they don't care. They can be rude. They can swear. They can attack you. It doesn't matter. So it's hard to have a civil, calm, rational conversation with people that I've found. And that's all I want to do. So I think that's why I'm doing this now. But
Are you saying that it's impersonal and that people are saying things behind a computer screen that they wouldn't say to your face?
sure, absolutely. That's a great way to put it. It is very impersonal. People don't care if they chew you out and use profanity, um, because there's no repercussions. You're just typing on a keyboard. So,
How many of these people do you know personally?
I mean, I don't know many people personally that I talk to online, but I'm just I'm talking about people that I have conversations with in the YouTube comments, Facebook comments, um, Instagram comments, essentially, every social media website or major social media website. Yeah, I mean, some people are really nice and some people are very respectful and some people want to have a conversation, but it seems like the majority of people they just want to attack you. And it seems kind of seems that's the theme these days, is that everyone is very divided and nobody wants to have just a calm, civil, rational conversation where we can share ideas.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a symptom of our society. Our society, unfortunately, is not very healthy. All of these things that are happening that you're talking about, that you're describing, personally, I think, are symptoms of a sickness. If we were healthier, we would maybe have a healthier dialogue, and maybe we can get there. Maybe we were once there, but maybe we can return there. And just like your own personal well-being, there's times where we're healthy and there's times where we're sick. There's times where we're mentally healthy and there's times where we're mentally sick. There's times where we're physically healthy and physically sick. So I kind of, not to oversimplify it too much, but as a society right now, personally, I see these expressions as symptoms of our sickness. We could be healthier, and I hope we can get there again.
I think we can.
Yeah, I think that there's been times in our past, but it really starts with each person.
It does. Yeah. Absolutely.
I had a texting conversation with a really great friend of mine, and we were kind of summarizing some of these things. And when you look at all the shit that we've been talking about, all the propaganda and all the narrative, like, I don't think that one of the things I said to my friend was, there's some people, and I'm talking good people I love too, who probably shouldn't be looking at this shit right now because they're not in the strongest place.
As far as what we're talking about?
Yeah, what we're talking about, but also what the narrative is.
Oh, okay.
Because, it can be very daunting.
Yeah.
What we're talking about, if you're not in a strong enough place to handle it, it might kind of put you in a down spiral.
Definitely.
And so I think it's a conversation that we should have, but I think it's a conversation that it's best to have if people are strong in themselves and they're able to kind of take it on. And if they're, for whatever reason, I've been in all sorts of different places in my life where I've been healthy and I've been unhealthy. And there's sometimes when I'm unhealthy, I just can't take it. I'm not in the best position to handle the negative influence. And so part of that is just kind of knowing yourself. And if you're not willing to kind of play ball, that's okay. You might need to sit on the bench for a while. That doesn't make you a lesser person by any stretch. It just means that if you're gonna play the game, and if you're gonna play well, and if you're gonna help your team, you need to be healthy and you need to be focused and you need to and if you can't do it, if you're on the the disabled list, that's fine. There's no sense in having somebody on the disabled list out on the playing field. You need to recover. You need to be well. And your team will not fault you for it at all. So some of us need to just kind of take a break from this sort of thing. But then there's other of us who are healthy, I think. This is just the way I look at it. There's others of us who are healthy, and we need to be on the playing field, and we need to be holding the line, and we need to be playing good defense and offense. Because this is a important time in history. Personally, that's how I look at it, and I'm at least fit enough to play at this point. And I might get sidelined. I might get I might get hit pretty hard, but until then, I can play. I can play ball. So, and that's what I'm doing, Matt.
Yeah, I mean the information can be very, very overwhelming. And if people are just trying to go along with their daily lives, um, it can definitely interrupt just your daily life because the information is so overwhelming and so over the top and frankly disturbing.
Yes.
Um, that sometimes people do need to take a break. And I have had friends and family that have straight up told me, yeah, hey, I need to take a step back from this. Like
For their own well-being.
this research.
Yeah.
And it's so dark and so overwhelming that I just, I got to focus on the everyday and not delve into this too much. So I completely understand. I completely agree. I think most people can relate, can probably relate to that. So
Yeah. And we support that because, it's like yeah, it's just like what I said. I used my little sports analogy. But then there's other people who are fine and they might need to be challenged. They might need to be provoked. And Matt, I've made to you. I've made an analogy where it's just kind of like dare to think is like we don't have it all. We don't have all the answers.
no,
We're not always right,
no,
but our aim is to understand, and our aim is to be honest, and our aim is to discover what's really happening. And it's also to kind of challenge people. That's why we came up with the name Dare to Think. I feel like, Matt, if our name wasn't, how well does Dare to Think fit us in our mission?
I think it fits us very well.
Yeah, it's just challenge people to look at things differently than what we're told, and we're open also. We're not just the ones who are gonna like provoke thought. We're willing to be provoked ourselves. Would you agree with that, Matt?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said this before. The only thing that I know for sure is how much I don't know. So I'm never opposed to looking at information. I'm never opposed to researching to new ideas. I want it all. And that's why I do this podcast is to have a conversation. You know, I don't know everything and I'm not telling anyone that I do know. I just want to have a conversation.
Well, but you do have an opinion.
I do have an opinion. Yes. Yes.
You do have a worldview,
Yes, yes, yes.
and your worldview has been you've kind of assembled it based on what you viewed objectively. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do have an idea of how I think things work, more or less, in the world around us. The system that we live in, how things are structured. I just through years of research and looking at things, and that's you know that's part of the conversation that I want to have is I want to share that information that I have with people. So yes, I do have an idea of how things are structured, but I'm also not closed-minded. I'm also very open-minded to listen to other people's opinions and and information. So I want to have an open dialogue always.
Yeah. So, you'd be fine if I dared you to think too, right?
I would love it. Yeah.
Because our brains are kind of like a muscle, and when we exercise our muscle brains or our brain muscles, whatever, it gives us a chance to be more. It gives our brains a chance to be more fit. So sometimes we got to go through different sorts of exercises. You know, you don't just do one type of exercise. You do a whole myriad of exercises for your brain, just like you do for your body. And that way your brain is strong in all sorts of ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Matt, I want to take a minute to just thank the people who listen to us, who have given us a chance, who have, especially, the podcasts that we're putting out here are a good hour long, so it goes beyond the average attention span, and that says something about our listeners, to really give us a fair listen to what we're trying to unpack. I feel, a lot of gratitude towards those people. We know a lot of these people, but we also don't know if there's people out there, maybe they're complete strangers to us, but whoever you are, thank you for listening to what we're trying to say. And hopefully we are giving you something to think about. And even if maybe we kind of make you mad, one question I would have if we say something that makes you mad is, before you get into a kind of defensive mode with us, is just ask yourself, why are you mad at whatever we said? Think about that and then get back to us, because I would like to know, why are you mad at what we're saying? Do we sound I'll just leave it at that. Why are you mad? And then talk to us about it, because I'd like to hear.
Yeah, that's real. That's good.
Yeah, I also want to thank the mainstream media, and I want to thank the global oligarchy for giving us so much material to talk about.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't know. I don't know if I'm already about 4 or 5
Content.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
Yeah, I'm already about 4 or 5 episodes ahead because of what they throw at us. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So they're pumping all sorts of shit at us all the time, and I hear it, and then I want to react to it. So they're giving us, Matt. I don't know if we would have as much things to talk about if it wasn't for them. What do you think?
No, we definitely wouldn't. I mean, if we didn't have the mainstream media, or just the kind of mainstream narrative, if you will, definitely wouldn't have as much material to go on. I don't know. Maybe we'd be talking about our hobbies or something, like woodworking, or I'm making birdhouses. I don't know. No, I don't have enough birds around here. Well, maybe I do.
I don't know. I really feel like they inspired us to make this come together.
Oh yeah, it's.
If it wasn't for them, me and you would not be here recording. I don't think that would be happening. Do you?
The negativity in this world is the whole reason why I want to have a conversation, because I want to expose it. I want to have a conversation about it. I want to tell others about it. I want to share my research with other people. Yeah. So here we are. I'm not talking about making birdhouses, because there's much more relevant things to be talking about. And there's probably a lot of other channels to learn how to do that. But this channel, I'd like to delve into the world, our reality, the system, how it works, the corruption, and ultimately, I want to solve it. I want to solve this corruption.
Oh, you're such an idealist, Matt.
I mean,
how do you want to do good with your with your thoughts and with your intents. And I love it. I'm not faulting you for it at all.
If I close my eye, if I do all this research, if I read all these books, if I listen to these researchers and these doctors and these authors, and I just close my eyes and go, la 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 la, it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's still there. If I ignore it, it doesn't change anything. So, what am I going to do about it? If I want to change something, let's have a conversation about it. And that's what I'm doing. How much is it going to change having a podcast on YouTube or whatever social media site?
Don't
But
underestimate that.
yeah, just the technology allows us to connect with people all over the world these days, and that's really amazing. And I don't want to take that for granted. So yeah, I am very thankful that we can do this and we can make this happen. And if we could just share information and start a conversation and see where it goes, hopefully we can make a positive change.
I would say don't underestimate the times and don't underestimate the influence of one brave person. Because throughout history, it's always there's always been one brave person or one small group
Yeah.
that have, if they had not had the courage to act, the world would be a different place. But there's something about that tenacity, and there's something about that will to express the freedom of the human spirit.
Yeah, you want to be that one person in the classroom that raises their hand and says, "Hey, I don't understand this lecture. I don't understand what you're saying." And the rest of the class also feels the same way that you do. And they don't get what the professor is
Right, but
lecturing either.
they
But
didn't have the courage.
they didn't have the courage. They didn't have the courage to stand up and say, "Hey, I don't get it." But they love you for doing that.
Yeah.
They're grateful for you for raising your hand and saying, "Hey, can you explain this in a different way?"
Or just ask why.
Yeah, definitely. Asking why, that's so huge. It's so simple. It's so simple, but it's so profound at the same time.
Yeah. So Matt, you were talking earlier about the way that we're divided, and I think that this is a really important subject for us to look at. Um, I have a lot of thoughts on divide and conquer. What are some of the ways that you see divide and conquer implemented? How important is it to the ruling oligarchy? Let's just take one at a time here.
Sure, sure.
How important is it for them to implement divide and conquer?
Uh, I, th- I mean, I think it's one of, if not the most important thing, is to divide people.
Why?
Because there's billions of people on the planet, and there's no way that you can control them unless you control their minds. So you use the education system, you use Hollywood, use the entertainment industry, use late night TV hosts, you use history, use the educational system, um, you use race, you use racial division, use the race wars. You get people fighting against each other. You divide people, and it doesn't allow for people to come together and fight against those who are trying to take you down or those who are trying to manipulate you. In that case, I would say it is the globalists that are trying to manipulate, and it is their job to divide you so you can't retaliate against them, or you don't people don't defend themselves because they're divided.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I guess my next question was, and maybe you already answered it, was what advantage does it give them to divide us all up into all these different groups?
There's no uprising, you know. You Yeah, there's no uprising. If you just divide people, everyone argues amongst themselves, and you lessen the threat of people realizing how they're being oppressed. If you can just divide them, then you just minimize the threat. You do it through the media, you do it through racial tensions and black versus white and male versus female and gay versus straight, and then you don't have to worry about an uprising because everyone's just arguing amongst themselves.
So that is the offensive tactic from the oligarchy. They use a divide and conquer kind of
Yeah,
strategy
I mean it's the
to
same.
get people to s- to fight amongst themselves so that they can't organize and recognize that they're all actually similar.
Right, right. You don't.
You don't want them to organize, because once they organize, then you the oligarchy is in danger.
Yeah, it's you don't want people to realize how similar they are. Like it's almost like they don't want us to all realize we're all human. We're all the same. We all bleed red. So they just divide you any way they can. And that way there's no threat to them.
Shifting slightly, do you see a new divide and conquer with the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated?
Sure, definitely, definitely.
Is it just one more way, one more category of divide and conquer?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, definitely.
I mean, that's what I think. It's something I've been thinking about for a little while now, because it's just like, is this a new implementation of divide and conquer? Because if you're vaccinated, it has nothing to do with if you're man or a woman, if you're, whatever your skin color is, whatever your creed is, whatever language you speak, you're now the vaccinated or the unvaccinated.
Yeah, it's going to be the new divide. And yeah, well, we're here in the Bay Area, and the mask mandate, if you want to argue whether it's really going to be lifted, but supposedly on June 15th, the mask mandate is lifted. And I guarantee that once the mandate is lifted and people can just go grocery shopping without the mask or go to any store, whatever it may be, you're still going to have a lot of paranoid people that are going to wear the mask. And I feel like there's still going to be a lot of people that are going to be really irritable, and they're not going to like the fact that people aren't wearing masks. So I feel like there's going to be some tension. I just feel it coming. 2 weeks from now, when you don't have to wear the mask, there's going to be some tension, I'm
What's
sure.
special about that date? What is it about? What's
Uh,
magical about
no,
June
nothing.
15th? Is it like just magically going to be okay?
No, no. But that's how. I mean, it. I mean, it just shows you how ridiculous the whole situation is. There's nothing special about that date. It's the governor. It's the governor. It's the state of California picking a date and saying, okay, this date, we no longer mandate that you have to wear a mask indoors. And that's it. It's just from the governor. And a lot of people will speculate that it's probably Newsom just trying to save his ass because he's being recalled. But even though the whole country and the CDC, not that I trust the CDC, is saying that you can lift the mask mandate, but for whatever reason, California has still held it for like weeks after the CDC lifted it. So I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but whatever the, reason, it is what it is. I just see a lot of tension from people that are still paranoid about the virus.
What are you seeing and hearing?
Um, uh, a lot of stuff on, I read a lot of the comments on YouTube. I'm subscribed to a lot of the local news channels on YouTube because I don't have cable television. So if I want to catch up on the local news, I just watch the YouTube channel. But I read the comments and, I just kind of get a taste or an idea of like what people are talking about, how people feel. Um, and just like I was saying, a lot of people still feel tense. They still want to wear the mask, even though it's not mandated. Um,
They want to wear the mask even if they've gotten vaccinated.
Many people do, and I don't quite understand that. I don't understand it at all. But
Why?
I I don't know what people's thinking are. I would probably say that it's because the media just pushes fear, 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 and that people just want to stay safe. They're like, okay, well, I had the vaccine, but you know what? I just want to be safe. I just want to be safe. I'm still gonna wear the mask, and they kind of just go along with it. It seems silly to me, but I can't get in everyone's headspace. I don't know where they're all coming from. So
What are your observations though? Are you seeing the is this something that you're seeing online or is this something that you're seeing in real life situations like at out in the public?
no, not in the public because if you go, like I had to go to the grocery store today and I had to go to the bank. You still have to wear a mask, so everyone's wearing a mask. I don't know what people's opinions are or what their beliefs are when I go to the store, the bank.
Mm-hmm.
But I know when it ends on the 15th that some people may be irritated about it. The only what I'm really what I'm looking at is mainly on like a YouTube forum, or I'm talking to people on YouTube in the comment section. I'm talking to people that are commenting on like the local Channel 5 news, the SF Bay Area news. And I just see a lot of people who are saying, I'm going to still wear my mask. I don't trust not wearing it. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I haven't personally met anyone in my day-to-day life that has told me they're upset about the mask mandate being ended. Yeah, so it's just social media essentially is what I'm referring to. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think everyone's fed up with it. I mean, I go to a handful of just different convenience stores around my area, and you know, 60, 70, 80% of the time I go in, the guy behind the counter is not wearing a mask or it's pulled under his chin. It's I feel like people are tired of it. People are tired of it. They don't see everyone dying on the streets. They don't see it being this huge epidemic that the media is telling us. And people are just tired of wearing masks all day. You got to go to work 8 hours a day, and it's, you get a headache, you can't breathe. It's not healthy. So I just see more and more people just getting sick and tired of having to deal with these ridiculous, as far as I'm concerned, these ridiculous mandates, which I think is great. It's a good thing, People need to be shaken up and say, "Okay, enough is enough. We've done this. We've
Well,
been cautious."
why do you think California is so far behind some other states in this way?
Well, this is going to be controversial, but and I don't,
Go ahead.
it's well because of our governor, um, yeah, Gavin Newsom, and the people behind Gavin Newsom, his aunt Nancy Pelosi, the family that he's married into. You know, I want to I want to look at the information. I want to take it to the very surface level. I want to take it down to the foundation and really understand why are things going on the way they are? Why are things happening the way they are? Gavin Newsom is part of a family that is contributing to the New World Order. I'm just going to say it out. I'm just going to say it. His whole agenda is to turn California into a communist state. If you look at Chicago, if you look at like Detroit, DC, um, Portland, Oregon,
New Jersey.
New Jersey,
Yeah.
the governors, they're all Democratic governors. They are all these people, as far
Don't
as I'm
forget New York.
concerned, are Marxist, and they're trying to turn this country.
I don't know if they're. I don't know if all of them even understand what that is. I think that they're just career politicians. I think that they're honestly. I just think that they're bitches. A lot of them.
I think that's part of it, but yeah, I mean that's my opinion.
I don't think all of them understand the creeds of Marxism or know the Communist Manifesto or any of that kind of thing. I think that they're all just
There's a lot
tools.
of corruption. There are a lot of corruption.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that they're just like, oh yeah, I'm a sold out Marxist or anything like that, or I'm a socialist or whatever. That they're in it for their own personal gain. So it's a little bit of case by case, but I think a lot of it has just been they're weak and they're corruptible and they're bribable and they're selfish and they don't even understand what politics to them is just a game of and they're narcissistic. So I don't think that they necessarily are sold out on the ideology personally. I just think that they're useful tools. What do you think?
You do have to take it case by case by case. Yes, I will agree with everything that you just said. I 100% agree with everything that you said. But I also will have to say that I think it gets a lot deeper than people believe or people think. I think it gets real deep, and the corruption goes real deep, and people don't think. I think sometimes people can say, "Oh, this person's just ignorant," or they're just in it to. They're just in politics because they're just trying to enrich themselves. But I think it goes deeper than that a lot of the time, where these people are really actually working towards an agenda. I mean, you don't know if George Soros is funding certain mayors or putting people into politics, whether it's representatives or mayors or governors, in order to further an agenda. And I think that happens. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it because it is a lot of information. But I truly think that's going on. No, is it going on in every case? No, of course not. But we have to look at every case and analyze it and understand what's going on.
Well, and we
We
can
have
look.
to ask the question at least.
Yes, we can ask the questions and we can look for the trends. Um, Matt, this is kind of a side thought, but are you familiar with confirmation bias or expectation bias?
I've heard that term, but you would have to remind me
Okay, so
of the definition.
expectation bias, I need to look that up a little bit more, but confirmation bias is basically you already have your mind made up about something. And people could say this about us. They could say like, well, you guys are conspiracy theorists and you guys believe in a new world order and you guys believe in a one world agenda and you have a confirmation bias. And so everything that comes through, you guys are looking for the information to support your confirmation, your belief. And then you say, well, see, told you so. It supports my already existing belief. And so that's fair for them to make that accusation against us.
Sure.
They could say like, well, you guys are always looking that you've got your
I
mind
agree.
made up.
I agree.
And so, okay, so the only reason I'm bringing this up is because people also have a confirmation bias about, say, that COVID is a serious threat, or that the SARS virus, it's not even COVID, it's called SARS-2 or something like that. And COVID is supposedly the symptoms. So,
I like to call it the Kung flu virus.
well, whatever. But we live in such an age of disinformation and confusion and misinformation and propaganda that it's insanity. It's also extremely exciting, but I'm only bringing up confirmation bias as a subject for us to analyze and look at and talk about. And I picked on us because people might accuse us of something, but then if I flip it back on them, I might say, well, don't you have a confirmation bias about, say, who knows what? Whatever your particular worldview leanings are, you might look at like, see, I told you COVID was dangerous, and here's all the information I have that supports it. But then you have a bias towards the information that supports your worldview. But then if I offer you information that is contrary to your worldview, you're unbiased to it. You won't even look at it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I feel like personally, Matt, when I listen to you and when I, because of all the conversations that we've had, we at least have some sort of objectivity to it. And here's what I'm going to show to prove it. And you might get a little. Here's what I'm going to dare you to think, Matt.
Sure.
If Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Dr. Fauci says something that is true, if we're being objective, we must agree, and we find out that what they said is true, we must agree with what it is true. We can't say, well, no, I have a bias because I don't like Kamala Harris and I don't like Joe Biden and I don't like Dr. Fauci. If they said something that's true, it's true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true objectivity. And so what has happened to us in our society in America is like people like, they don't like Donald Trump, let's say, or they don't like Joe Biden. And they say, therefore, I will reject everything that they say.
Right.
That's not being objective. That's having a confirmation bias.
That's the media gaslighting people.
Absolutely. And it's divide and conquer again.
Right.
So our subject for today, everybody, is divide and conquer. And we want to, as objective thinkers on Dare to Think podcast, and just as people, as your friends, we want to back up and say truth is truth is truth is truth is truth. It does not matter what vehicle it comes through, what person it comes through. We have no bias to any person. We have a bias towards what is true. Can we agree upon that, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So that's what's going to separate us from the whole, as some people have said, plantation politics. Where it's just like, well, um, plantation politics is like my master is better than your master, and we're going to put, our foot on your neck for the next 4 years or 8 years or whatever, and you're going to struggle against it. And then it's going to flip back to it's this trap of, oh, now we're going to flip back to the Republicans. Oh, now we're going to flip back to the Democrats, and we go nowhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but true objectivity will be like, this all just, we don't really make any progress when we're doing this sort of bullshit. So how are we going to break free from this? Everybody. And a lot of people are. A lot of people have, I think, as we've talked about, know that this is all bullshit, and know that it doesn't really make any progress, and know that it doesn't really help anywhere. It's just this endless cycle of futility. And as soon as we recognize that it's just divide and conquer, and that it's just a trap, it's like I exposing the divide and conquer is half the battle. Exposing the divide and conquer of, Republican versus Democrat, left versus right, man versus woman, gay versus straight, or straight versus the LGBTQ, race versus, black versus white, all this divide and conquer. Let's expose it. Because as soon as we can expose it, the less likely we are to fall into their trap.
For me, in my opinion, that is the number one, is exposing it and getting people to look at it. Yes. And getting people to pay attention to it and realize it. It's once you expose it, then people will realize it. And once you expose it, you will see things everywhere. You'll see things in your daily life, and you'll see the way that you are being manipulated. You'll see how the entertainment industry is manipulating you, and how the MSM is manipulating you. So, yes, that is number one, I think, is to just open the door, if you will, and expose that you are being manipulated.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that. So if they can just get to step one, then they can almost take it from there.
That's almost half the battle.
Right.
Okay, so here's the new divide and conquer: the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. Well, what do we do about that? Because in another conversation that you and I had, it's just like, that's a tough one, because a lot of the people who have been vaccinated are people who we care about. How do we connect with them without letting the oligarchy win by dividing us because of this divisive issue? How can we do that? I don't. You don't have to have all of the answer at once, but I just have to ask the question.
How can we connect with the people that have taken the vaccine?
Yeah.
Just do what we're doing now and having this podcast, having a conversation, sharing information, breaking things down, looking at things logically, looking at things rationally. I think that's how. If you look at any situation, I don't care what it is, if you just break it down and try to look at it honestly, without ego, then most people will look at it and be like, huh, all right, I understand where you come from. I get it. You know, you can probably relate with most people if you just break things down in simple terms. And 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 that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do here. I don't know if I'm doing a great job of it, but I'm get I think I'm getting better. I don't know, I'm trying. So, yeah, just sharing information. Knowledge is power. So, just if people can awaken to, and maybe that sounds kind of douchey to say awaken, but if people can realize what you're saying, look at the information without an ego, just see things for what they are, then maybe we can make a change. Um, as far as people being vaccinated and people being unvaccinated, I think most people, both sides have made up their mind. The people who aren't, who have not gotten vaccinated, are probably likely not going to, and have a very, you know, like, staunch stance against, I'm not going to get this. I'm against vaccines, or, for whatever reason. So
Are you against vaccines, though?
I don't think all vaccines are bad, but I am not for the COVID vaccine. I don't, as far as I can remember, I don't think I've gotten a vaccine since I was probably 12 or 13 years old.
Let's
Um,
stick with this one. Why? What is your reasoning for not taking this vaccine?
well, I don't know what it is. And and the fact
You mean you don't
that
know what's in the shot?
yeah, I don't know what the vaccine is. I don't know what's in the vaccine. It's not what I don't trust the FDA, but it's not FDA approved. It's an experimental vaccine. We don't know the side effects, and if it's at 98.9999% survival rate, why would I get an experimental vaccine?
You
It
mean,
doesn't make any sense.
to clarify, you mean it's 98.99 survival rate if you contract COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying that if it's at 98.99% survival rate for most people, you don't see the logic to taking a experimental an emergency use authorization shot that has not been FDA approved. Is that
E-
what you're saying?
exactly.
That also,
Exactly.
yeah. See,
And I have asked many people this question, and no one has an answer.
yeah, that's disturbing. I that's where I agree with you. The people that I've talked to who have taken it, all of the people that I've talked to that have taken it can't seem to give me a good excuse as to how it can give them an advantage or an edge on helping them overcome the contracting COVID. Because you can still contract COVID even if you take the vaccine, for one.
Which is ridiculous because you have people that took the shot and they're still walking around with a mask on, or they're getting pissed off if you aren't wearing a mask.
Right.
I don't know how that makes any sense.
Well, the whole thing does not make sense. That's why we're having this conversation. They've given us a lot of good material to talk about. They've given us a lot of episodes here, Matt. And we say this with some sensitivity
Definitely.
to the people who we know and love who have taken it, but at the same time, we also take it. We also speak with a obligation to reason and an obligation to rational thinking. Like, I love people, but I almost can't compromise the reality of when things don't make sense. You can't, there's too much of a conflict within my own self.
Right. You can't ignore that.
I can't say I can't say, well, I love you and therefore I have to throw my fucking brain in the trash can. No, I can't do that. I literally can't do that. My brain goes on tilt. My brain won't allow me to do that. I have a malfunction within myself when that happens. And every good thinking person who can reasonably and rationally think probably understands what I'm talking about. Nobody should throw their brain in the trash can because of emotionalism.
No. No. That's actually one of the biggest agendas of the day is using emotion instead of rational thinking to manipulate people.
So
And I think it's going on with COVID. So, sorry.
no, it's fine. I know a guy who, a good guy, a good man, who says, a good thinking guy, who said that, when you're making a decision and when you're looking at things logically and rationally, your emotions should inform your decision, but they should be the caboose to the train. They should not be the engine to the train. They should be they're an important part of the train, but they're the last thing that informs your decision making process.
Yeah.
The engine should be logic and reason and rationality, and all the things that are objective, that are not emotional. And then emotions can come in at the very end and say, it's a part of it and it's an important part, but it's the last thing and informs it. And the problem is nowadays the emotions are at the engine and the logic and the reason is at the caboose.
Right. And I think that's on purpose.
Well, we've been conditioned for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because to dumb down a society strengthens the ruling class.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the whole point.
So, but if you're a logical, rational, thinking society, you won't be easily ruled. If you're an emotional, reactionary society, you can easily be put under their thumb. Very easily.
Yep. I mean, that's why we have everything that's going on today. That's why we have riots.
Welcome to 2021, everybody.
We have riots. We have looting. We have BLM lighting places on fire. We have Antifa lighting places on fire. We have people ripping statues down.
And how dare you speak against BLM or Antifa? See, that's the emotionalism again. How dare you speak against them?
It's all emotion.
Why can't you speak against them? Why can't you ask a question?
Everyone's a racist. Everyone's a xenophobe. Everyone's a Nazi. Everyone that we don't agree with is, Hitler. There's no room for just logical or rational thought. It's just, like you said, the emotion is the engine, And, it's working real good. They did a great job, actually, with dividing people. There's a lot of people that see through it, but there's also a lot of people that buy into it, which is really unfortunate. It's really sad. But it works really well. Works really well with the younger kids too. The late teens, early 20s, the kids in college. They're very impressionable. They want to be a part of something. And they buy into it. They buy into the Marxist, communist, socialist agenda.
What else can you tell me, Matt, about what you see about divide and conquer?
I mean, as we both know, and as most of the listeners likely know, that history, you go back as far as you can go, and it's all about divide and conquer. It's just those in power have to figure out how to divide people. And in this day and age where we have technology, they do it through social media and big tech. Um, yeah, that's the new and improved divide and conquer technique these days, is using technology to get people fighting amongst themselves. So, like today I was telling you earlier, I was commenting on some YouTube videos, and I replied a very extensive reply, a lot of info. Took me some time, and YouTube erased my comment. Not once, but twice. So I replied back to the guy who was expecting the reply, and he's like, he was just a jerk and said, "Oh, you didn't reply because, you don't know what you're talking about." I was like, "Dude, I replied to you twice. YouTube is deleting my comments." So, but people don't believe it, and it's the censorship is right in front of your face. It's literally happening right in front of you. Or you're trying to have a conversation with somebody online, and your response is deleted. So this is the new world order. This is 1984. It's all about controlling information. You know, so if the whole theme is tonight is how do they divide and conquer us? That's it. They control social media. They control YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They're just going to delete you if they don't like what you're saying. They're going to shadow ban you. So they have the upper hand, but it's people like us that are doing a podcast and having a conversation and putting this out there in order to enlighten or just get people thinking about what's going on.
What's the antithesis to help turn it around, Matt?
Sharing information, having a conversation, getting people thinking. Uh, it, if people just said tomorrow, I'm going to stand up and I'm not going to cooperate and go along with the system or the structure anymore, then the system would fall apart. Is that going to happen? No, probably not. Um, but if people don't contribute to it, or if they don't go along with the system, then the system doesn't work. You know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Maybe the banking system and having cryptocurrency. If you have these global banking dynasties and these families that control the central banks, if all of a sudden now you have cryptocurrency, if people start going with crypto, then it's a threat to these banking establishments. And then they're going to say, no, 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 crypto's terrible. If you have a threat, then it's a threat to the establishment. If you have a conversation, if you have knowledge, if you have understanding, if you think logically and rationally, then we can overcome essentially this slavery that we are all in under this system. And we will not allow them to divide us any longer, because we will see how they divide us.
We can be more aware of when we might be falling into another trap. That's why I bring up the whole vaccine versus unvaccinated. It could be another trap for us. Well, for us to see each other as different. We see each other. They are implementing these differences among us. And exposing it is part of the battle. It's half of the battle, really. When we can expose their tactic and their strategy of divide and conquer, maybe we might think twice before we fall into their trap of this person is different than I am. And instead of falling into their trap, we can look at the person that's taken a different path than we have, but still engage them and see that, recognize that there is a strategy to divide and conquer us, and not let them succeed in making us their subjects or falling prey to that strategy.